Welcome to the Improvised dinner party. My name is Robin Wiggs, and I'm here with Dave Lindsey, who's going to join with us. Dave, would you like to tell everyone where you're zooming in from?
I am zooming in from San Diego, California.
Yeah, and we're very, very pleased to have you. Today, Dave and I are going to perform a 10-minute scene or thereabouts. The only fixed point in that is that it is two people having a meal. It can be any place, any time, any when. It doesn't matter. It's just two people enjoying a meal together, and we'll just see where it goes. I mean, they don't even have to be enjoying it, actually. Sorry, I shouldn't have put that specificity on it. It can be the worst meal in the world. It's absolutely fine. And after that, well, we'll find out, won't we? After that, we'll have a short chat about Dave's experience with improv. But without further ado, I've got two suggestions here on pieces of paper. I don't know what either of them say, as you would hope. But Dave, could you please pick for me one or two?
Oh, I like the looks of the two.
You like the looks of the two. I held up the wrong one, but there we go. We've got the two. There we go. And it says, oh, can you read that? It says cheese.
Cheese. Okay.
Cheese. Okay. So we'll pop our cameras off and then we'll start. Cheese. I mean, the thing about the dark, this dining in the dark is I can't see anything, but the texture is just coming alive,
Yeah, it smells okay,
Oh,
it smells really good, actually. Eggs, I think.
Eggs, okay.
Yeah, like an omelet, maybe.
Okay. So what else is in the what else is in the omelet? That's the question. Got one thing down.
So it's too bad your power went out just this afternoon. That's
yeah. I mean, that's it's hurricane season. What can you do? So I just decided to make a virtue of it. I've always wanted to go to one of those themed restaurants where you eat in the dark, and and so I and thank you for coming to experience it with me.
Well, I was planning on being in the neighborhood anyway, but it started storming, and I just didn't have any place to go, which is not to say that I'm not happy to be here. I mean, but you're who I know here, so.
Okay, you've made it seem slightly less special, I suppose.
I'm sorry, I didn't. I'm always happy to see you. I'm always happy to see you.
I can turn on the lights if you really want me to. If the whole thing's that much of a drag, it's fine.
The power's out, right?
Oh yeah. No, that's right. I can't turn on the lights. That's right. No, of course I can't.
No. Mushrooms. I think.
Yeah. I mean, it was just whatever was in the fridge, basically. So.
Well, they're good. I like mushrooms in my omelets.
Yeah. Good.
Look, I'm sorry. I feel like I've made this uncomfortable, and that was the last thing on my mind, really.
No. I know. I get it. It's a storm. It's a storm outside. It's scary. Makes people say things maybe they didn't intend to.
I mean, I did have other intentions coming to town. I was going to meet up with Laura and ask her to marry me.
Wow.
So you can understand how this is
okay.
Not exactly what I had in mind.
Wow, I mean, okay, I mean, I wouldn't expect her to, I suppose. We know we've moved on and everything, but wow, okay. That's
I've made it uncomfortable again, haven't I?
No. I mean, I always say that I want her to move on, and I don't always mean it. I always say that, and I want, I loved her, so in a way, I still do love her, and I wanted to be happy. So, what did you think of the wine? You took a
yeah, good. Good French, right?
Yeah. It was. It is. Yeah. I just didn't know. I just didn't know things had got that far with you guys. I want to be happy for you both. It's just a shock, you say it and it's like a kind of boom.
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure things have gone that far. I really don't know what her answer would have been. But I figured it was time to just make my move, just say how I felt and get it all out there.
Yeah, I mean, the mistake I always made with her was never being properly honest about what I was feeling. Like at the start of a relationship, when you talk a lot and you're very open because you've got all these endorphins going through you and everything, and or the oxytocin or whatever it is, and you say stuff and it comes into your head and you say it, and then after a while you get into these patterns and you don't say it, and then you end up just not in anything at all. So I'm really glad you wanted to make the subtext text, with her, because I couldn't do that.
It is the best policy, honesty, is the best. That's what they say. Honesty is the best policy. So,
yeah.
And yeah, I know it kind of got in the way in your relationship with her. So I didn't want to make, I just keep making this uncomfortable, don't I? No matter what I say.
I've been trying to kind of find myself since we broke up, and I know it's a couple of years now, but I've been trying to kind of find myself, and I haven't had a massive amount of success, but I've kind of found the edges,
bell pepper.
Yeah,
I thought so. So. That's good. That's a nice touch.
Thank you. See if you can guess. See if you can guess the herb. I put one herb in there.
One. Rosemary.
Yes.
But,
okay. Here's the clincher. Was it from a pot or was it from the garden?
Oh, you think I should be able to figure that out? From the garden.
Yeah. I could have been doing something with my time, but okay. I am all right. So tell me how are you going to do it? You're just going to because somebody told me this story earlier today about this friend of theirs in the London Eye. I don't know. Do you know the London Eye is the wheel that goes around next to the water, and so it takes like 40 minutes to go round. And this friend, one of his friends, was working in the London Eye, and it was his job to be there when the man or the woman proposed, and they'd set up proposals in the booths, in the bubbles they go round. And so he was standing there with the champagne ready, and the man got down on one knee and he said, we'll call her Julia because I can't remember her name. Julia, would you marry me, please? And there was just nothing for a little while. And then she said, we'll talk about this when we get home.
Oh.
And then just dead silence for the next 20 minutes while I don't know why I told that story, really. I'm just trying to discourage you.
Isn't it kind of a giveaway that there's a guy there with champagne?
Yeah.
I mean, I would think she would have figured it out by the time they got to the top.
Yeah. I mean, maybe she was just building up tension. I suppose maybe she was building up tension in herself, and so when he said it, she just couldn't bear it, and that's why she was so stressed about it, and that's why it was so tense.
So where did that go? What was the conversation when they got home?
That's a really interesting question, and I am going to hazard a guess that they are not married today. Would that be your guess?
Well, it didn't sound very promising.
It didn't.
But, maybe she's one of those people who's just, she wants to get all the details out. She wants to know what's really on his mind, get it all worked out, all figured out before she says yes. Some people are just like that. I'm kind of like that myself, really. I mean, this whole impulsive go and ask her thing is really pretty out of character for me. But like I said, I just felt it was time to step out.
Yeah, it feels right to me as well.
Really? It does? Because it matters to me how you feel about this.
Yeah, I want you to do it. I'm not that what I want or not should matter, but I want her to be happy, and you are one of my oldest friends, and I want you to be happy. So I want you to do it.
That's good of you, and it makes me feel better about the whole thing.
I want you to feel as good as you can going into it. Just I'm imagining you sort of taking her by the hand and looking her in the eyes and all that kind of. I don't want to get into a situation where I'm putting myself in a situation, imagining that. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just saying that I can see how it's going to feel good, and I hope it goes really, really well.
It's cheddar, right?
Yeah. It's cheddar.
Yeah. Yeah, a nice sharp cheddar. I really like that in my omelets.
Yeah, that's it. Oh. Tell you what, I'm gonna turn the lights on, and then I've got a backup generator. The whole thing,
You've been holding out on me.
Yeah, I just really wanted to do this, basically. So. All right, I'm just gonna switch it on. Yeah. Hi.
That is better, actually. It's much better to actually see you and see my food.
Yeah, exactly. So tell you what, you take a seat there, and I've got a great dessert. It's just gonna set you up with a really nice energy for when you go out. Okay.
Really? So, wow.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued.
You just sit there. I'll go get it for you. Okay.
Okay.
I'm pleased for you. Thank you very much, Dave. I thoroughly enjoyed that. That was
fun. That was a lot of fun.
It was good, wasn't it? I like that. That was nice. Oh.
And it was a really good omelet too.
Yes, thank you very much for noticing. I do take a lot of care with omelettes. I'm very pleased you enjoyed it, and the wine as well. Well done for identifying the country.
Yes. I should have been able to get down to a region, but
I mean, you got the rosemary though, so I mean, I think that was a granular question, wasn't it? So I think you right, I'd like to chat to you a little bit about your experience of improv now, if you'd indulge me. How did you find it initially? What drew you to it?
Well, I started taking improv classes 11 years ago now. In fact, my first show that I did as a class graduation show was right before Halloween 2011. So we're right in the time of year when it all happened. And I had, I'd done drama in school, and I'd had a few opportunities here and there to get on stage in shows or musicals or to play in bands and that sort of thing. And I didn't have anything like that happening at the time, and was kind of craving the opportunity to get back on stage. And I saw an article in the paper about a local improv theater, NCT, National Comedy Theater, which was really pretty much the only game in town at that time. And they were offering classes. So I went and took the series of classes, and my younger son, Michael, who was 21, 22 at the time, I think, had been talking about wanting to get into voice acting. And so I said, well, why don't you come and take these classes with me? It'll be a good opportunity to just kind of work on characters and get up in front of people and perform and that sort of thing. So he did. We took the classes together. It was like 3 6-week sessions. And by the time we got through with it and did our show, he decided he'd had enough, and I was hooked. I wanted to keep at it. But at the time, like I said, this particular theater was sort of the only game in town. So I went back, and you could retake level 3 as often as you wanted. So I went back and did that once. And then I said, okay, well, this is nice, but I need to find opportunities to perform without having to pay for a class. What it came down to.
Because it mounts up, doesn't it? Yeah.
Fortunately, right around that time, some other people who had been through the same program or who had other experience here and there were starting up new things. So there was a kind of informal group that was meeting in someone's home that was being taught and coached by Chris George. I don't know if that's a name that's familiar to you, but he's been around in San Diego and Chicago improv scenes for a few years. And some other people, Amy Lazewski was starting up Find a City Improv here in town. So there were starting to be more opportunities to go. And since then, there have been a couple other theaters that have sprung up, and a couple other class, training programs that have sprung up. I've never gone up to LA for an improv class or anything like that, but I've been through everybody's program in San Diego. So I got a lot of experience from other people who have been to LA and Chicago and everywhere else. So that's how I got started in it. I got into long form because NCT was at that point strictly a short form theater. But a lot of the people that were starting up these other things wanted to get long form going because they had experience with it. And so that gave me the opportunity to get into that and to learn that. I've performed in a couple of ongoing long form groups. One called Tribal Luminescence was the first one that I was in for a while.
Wow, that's a name and a half.
Tribal luminescence, yeah. Well, there's a scientific term, triboluminescence, which is like, when you bite down on a wintergreen lifesaver and sparks come out.
You're going to have to explain to me what a wintergreen lightsaber is.
Well, okay, it's a candy. It's a sugar candy, right? Made with wintergreen flavoring in it, and it's that when you have that thing where friction causes light to happen. That's triboluminescence. Cool. And we had some of us in the group have a mutual friend who was also doing improv and also has a radio program about words, about the English language. And she had mentioned tribal luminescence on the show. And we thought, well, how about tribal luminescence? And we used to do a thing where we would come on stage with hand drums and incorporate rhythm and poetry and all of that into our opening.
Cool.
So that went for a few years, and actually it's kind of in hiatus now. I dropped out of that group during COVID, just because online, and didn't feel that it was working for that particular group and what have you. And then I was in a group called Rug of Love that did the Slacker as a form, if you're familiar with that form. That came out of a class. We took a Slacker class and decided to keep the group going, and that went for a while. But COVID put an end to that one, so that hasn't been going. But then during COVID, I got into all the online stuff, which is, of course, where we met in an online class. And
that was Lauren Baumbauer's.
Lauren Baumbauer's. Screwball comedy class, which is still one of my favorite experiences ever in improv, is just in the whole taking of that class and working with the people there, and learning from Lauren, who's a fabulous teacher, who I actually got to meet face to face finally about a month or so ago. She came down here and did a class. So
it was at Cornerstone.
That was at Cornerstone, right? Yeah. Cornerstone is a really good group of people who, they do some shows, but they're more focused on classes and workshops. And I'm taking I'm in a class right now for 4 or 5 weeks, learning the JTS Brown. So we're gonna work on that one with John Boas, who's in a group here in town called Willis that does the JCS Brown as their form. So yeah, so that's kind of the big story in a nutshell. COVID, and the whole online thing really, really opened up a lot for me in terms of getting connected with people all over the world. I did some performances with Hideout Theater out of Austin, Texas. I did some workshops and jams and stuff with Improv MKE in Milwaukee. Met people in the UK, obviously, and other parts of the world. So it's just it was a cool experience. But it's nice to be back in person and doing things. I don't have a lot as far as my own performing is concerned. I don't have a lot going on right now. I'm kind of hoping that a group will come out of this JTS Brown class and we can carry that on. That would be nice. I'm teaching and coaching a group in North San Diego County that is people that I've done short form shows with who wanted to get into long form, and they kind of have varying backgrounds in terms of what kind of improv training they've taken. There's a lot of theater experience in the group, so they're pretty strong with character development and that kind of thing.
Oh, that sounds great.
I'm trying to get them solid in the basics, and we'll move on from there and come up with a form and try to do some performing. So
if you have a group in San Diego, is it fairly easy to find a stage to perform on?
Yeah, it's not too hard. Mockingbird Improv, which is another one that was side stage that merged with Old Town, which went out of business during the COVID, which became Mockingbird. They kind of took over the operation and made it into a not-for-profit and all of that. They have Sunday night shows with where they invite in indie teams to perform. Find a City has some opportunities for indie teams to perform. And there are some places where, at various times in the past, we've just set up our own shows. If there used to be a coffee house here in town, and I don't know what happened to them in COVID, if they're still up or not, but they had a back room that was appropriate for small performances and that sort of thing. So we just set up our own shows and invite some other teams in and do it that way. So it's not like you're going to get to perform every week or anything like that. But if you make connections and get known a little bit, there are opportunities. Yeah.
Cool. I have one other question, because the JTS Brown is something I've heard of, but I've not had any direct experience with. Could you just give us a sort of quick rundown of what the form is?
Yeah. So if you look up, and one of the online improv websites has kind of a blurb on it, the people who originated it, I guess basically don't even think of it as a form, more as a philosophy, because there's not like a set order of scenes or anything like that. It's not like in a Herald where you've got ABC1, ABC2, that kind of thing. It's more just they have some rules, some basic things that you do. For instance, one of the more interesting things about it is there are no all of the edits are what they call transformational edits. I think I'm getting the right terminology. I've only taken one class in this, so don't quote me on anything yet. But so there are no like sweep edits where you just sweep off a scene and go into the next one. There are no walk-ons. There are no tag outs, none of that kind of stuff. If there's a scene going on and somebody else comes into the scene, it becomes a totally new scene.
Right. Okay.
So if you've got a scene with Ted and Fred at the bus stop and someone else comes on, they're not at the bus stop anymore. This is not Ted and Fred anymore.
Because
in fact, those two players can decide if they want to stay on stage as a different character or leave.
Okay. Yeah.
So, it's like anytime anybody enters the stage, everything changes.
Cool.
There's a lot of encouragement to be inanimate objects in scenes. So maybe Ted and Fred are talking and the new guy walks on and Ted becomes a tree, that kind of thing happens. Just a lot of it just triggers a lot of interesting flow in terms of the way things run together.
Yeah, no, I really, really like the sound of that. It feels very organic.
Yeah.
Which is, I know, is a word that some people don't enjoy, but yeah. But yes, it does feel lovely. Is it anything else? I think you've covered an awful lot of ground. I had one other question in the sort of message you sent me. You mentioned being a composer at one point.
Oh, yeah. I actually, many years ago in a past life, when I was in college, I majored in music, and I have a master's degree in music from University of California, San Diego, which is why I ended up in San Diego and never found a reason to leave. It was the sort of thing that when I went through school, I wanted to compose and teach. And so I was in a very academic kind of mindset. And I got my master's degree in 1981 when the economy was stinko and every school in the world was cutting back on their arts departments. And so there were people who had years of experience in the classroom and in the concert hall going for the same low-level community college jobs that I was going for. And so it just didn't work out. And, if I'd really thought more career-wise when I was in school, I might have focused more on singing. I am a singer. I sing in choirs. I haven't had a lot of opportunity in life. I've done a few musicals here and there, just kind of community theater stuff. And if I'd really thought more career-wise, I probably would have concentrated more on that and tried to make that as a career rather than go the academic composer track. But that's not where my head was at the time, so it didn't work out.
Yeah, it was a choice in the moment, like in an improv scene, I suppose.
Yeah. So I choose to frame it by saying that I threw away a promising career as a musician to follow my true calling of being an accountant.
Yeah,
which is what I did for the next 40 years, give or take.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Dave. Is there anything coming up that you'd like to plug, or have we covered pretty much everything?
Yeah, I don't have a lot. I don't have anything really improv wise on the calendar right now. I have a Christmas concert with a choir that I'm singing in. That's on December 22nd, if anyone happens to be in the San Diego area. But no, nothing that I really have scheduled in at this point. So
cool. Well, yeah, thank you very much for joining us. I mean, if you'd like to come on, and you as in you out there, if you'd like to come on and do one of these, and just comment below the video, and I'll get in touch. But for now, thank you very much, Dave.
Thank you. This was a lot of fun.
It was.
It was great to see you.
Yeah, you too. And thank you very much for watching, and we'll say bye-bye.